Hey folks, welcome back. This is Doug Lynam, and in this video we are going to talk about the money masters for each of the 9 Enneagram types. And so what is a money master? It's someone who has mastered the 4 pillars of finance, which are earning, saving, investing, and giving. So you need to master all 4 of those areas and have a healthy relationship to money in all those aspects in order to be what I call a money master, which has nothing to do with the size of your bank balance or your portfolio. It has to do with your relationship to money and how you're dealing with it. So you might be in your 20s and you're still getting going in your life, or you could be in your 80s and you could be in a different financial situation. But in any case, it doesn't really matter where you are in your journey. It's about your relationship mostly to yourself and how you relate to money in a healthy way. So in the last video, we talked about the money monsters, which are when we're either anxiously attached to money or fearfully avoidant of it. And in here, we're going to look at the 9 different money masters. So we're going to start with the 8 for no apparent reason other than it's just a convenient place to start. And the 8s are the challenger, the people who are always sort of pushing against the limitations of reality and boundaries because they don't like to be harmed or controlled. But the money master 9, I call them the dynamo, meaning they have managed to take their tremendous amount of energy that they have. So the superpower of 8s is having a super amount of energy. And so the money master 8 is learn to use their money as a tool as in all the types. We all have to learn how to use our money and our resources as a connection for love and service in the world, to ourselves, to our family, and then to our wider community. And so having a robust financial life is essential for all of those things. But the Dynamo 8 is someone that's this powerhouse of energy, and they really use their money to bring a more justice into the world. They look for ways to be of service, like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a great example of a type 8 who was also a money master. So the civil rights movement took a lot of money to finance. And so the Dynamo, like Martin Luther King Jr., was able to harness those resources to create tremendous change and transformation in our world. And that's the type 8. Then if we move to the type 9, we get to the doer. So the 9 is the peacemaker, who the problem with the 9 is they are afraid of conflict. They don't like the anger that it brings up in them because they fear a loss of wholeness in themselves. If they ever tap into that anger, they're afraid it will rip them apart. But the healthy 9 is one who's been able to make peace with themselves and is able to take right action in the world. And they become the doer. They stop being the spud or the dud, which we talked about in the last video, and become the doer, the one who can really get off their tuchus and get out there and make things happen and bring more harmony into the world. And harmony is what happens after a conflict is resolved, rather than the placid peace that the 9 is likely to kind of wallow in avoiding conflicts, which then just build up and create all kinds of issues and things blow apart eventually. So the 9, the healthy doer, is able to get out there, use right action, use their skills in love and service to the world to make things, to bring more harmony into existence. And then for the type 1, we call them the poised. The 1 is always the improver. They're always looking to improve themselves or the people around them or the systems in society, the macro level structures around them. So they really see what's wrong in the world and have this real, and in themselves, depending on your subtype, you can lean more in one direction or the other. But the poised is one who's learned to overcome this anger that they feel towards themselves when things aren't done the right way, and they have an equanimity about themselves, and their financial life is they're very, again, poised. They're able to use their wealth to serve others and to keep improving things around them, but without anger, without resentment, without frustration, because things always go wrong. I mean, life is a mess, right? Life is suffering, as the Buddha pointed out, and many others. And so when things go off track, the poised one can kind of stay the course, be able to stay grounded, and keep improving things, but from a place of love and from a place of compassion rather than anger or resentment. And then if we move into type 2, the helper, call them the beloved. Now, type 2s are they have this externalized sadness, which we talked about before. They're always sort of 2s are sort of compulsively helpful because they're looking for validation and approval from the people around them. But the beloved rather than having strings attached, which is common in the unhealthy type 2, the 2 is giving to get. They're giving money in order to get money, or not get money, to get validation, and approval. And the beloved is able to love unconditionally. They cut the cords of codependence. They cut the cords of reciprocity. They're not expecting anything back. They're giving from a place of abundance. Their financial life is secure, and they're good earners, savers, investors, and givers, but they're not over-giving. They're not overextending themselves, and they can just give from a grounded place of unconditional love rather than the conditional love that 2s are so likely to fall into. And then for the 3, the achiever, they've overcome that internalized sadness to the best of their ability, and they're no longer the what we talked about, the barrier and the blinger are the money monsters for the 3, and they overcome their anxiety or avoidance around money, become the builder. They're using all of their tools, all of their charisma, all of their resources to build something of significance for others. Not for themselves, not for their ego, not for monuments to them to their own vanity, but building something in loving service that to kind of heal the crack in the world that they were born to fix. And then we move to the 4, the individualist. I call them the money master. They're the flame. Again, the money monsters for the 4 were the flop and the flinger. And when they overcome their money avoidance and anxiety, they become the flame. They become this. They burn bright, but they don't burn out. They bring this sort of divine glory. They're able to help show others the beauty in themselves and the beauty in the world around them, and they bring beauty, truth, self-expression to its fullest development. And they light up the world, but not for their ego, but again in service to others, something higher than themselves. And then for the 5, we call them the Midas. Now, unlike the fable, this is actually a good thing because everything that the 5 touches turns to gold, but in a good way. They have this vast intellectual resources inside themselves. They're sort of like, instead of always hoarding their wealth or hoarding their knowledge, their information, their feelings, they're able to give freely from a place of non-attachment. And then, they're all of that intellectual power can be used in service to the world and make the world a better place. And so we see that 5 becomes that Midas that just is able to build wealth and build something of lasting significance in the world, for others. And then for 6, they stop being the paralyzed or the pugilist or the puppet and become the pioneer. They've overcome their internal fear and anxiety and have great courage, and they become this trailblazer in whatever area that they choose to engage in, and I call them they're able to. They're sort of the Lewis and Clark of personal finance. They're out there, blazing new trails, leading the charge, and really showing us how to use, again, all the 9 types are using, at their healthiest, are using their resources to serve something higher than themselves in love and connection. And the pioneer is really the one who shows us a courageous path forward, overcoming our fear through a deeper faith and trust in the universe, getting over that skepticism that they have. And then for 7, the enthusiast, they are no longer the gorger or the grabber, which are their anxious and avoidant types, and they become the grounded. They're no longer being buffeted by this insatiable gluttony for experiences, for ideas, for opportunities, for things, for food, for travel. And they're able to live in the present moment with mindfulness and really be grounded and find fulfillment in the present moment and help bring that fulfillment to others. So that's a quick summary of the 9 money masters. And again, we'll do a separate video on each of the 9 types in detail soon. But if you like this video, please like and subscribe. And my new book, Taming Your Money Monsters, 9 Paths to Money Mastery with the Enneagram. It releases July 8th, 2025, and pre-orders are available on Amazon. Thank you so much. Talk soon.